Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the program. Now, as many of you know, I am very fond of robots. That's why I've covered so many movies about them. Gog, Deadly Friend, and that's pretty much it. But I do like them. Well, this is a movie that shows us the dangers of having a robot companion. Again. Except this time, it's different than the others. Because, quite honestly, the movie just isn't nearly as exciting. There's no killing, there's no flamethrowers. It's kind of lame. It's Tobor the Great, or as I like to call it, Tobor the Disappointing. Just look at the poster. It makes the movie look like quite the adventure, doesn't it? But this never happens in the movie. And look at the background. It makes it seem like part of this takes place on another planet or in outer space or something. No, nothing but lies. And you all know how much I hate dishonest movie posters, no matter how cool it looks. Now, you might be thinking, geez, Mark, aren't you being a little harsh? Well, I had expectations going into this movie, especially looking at the poster, such as that the robot was going to be a major part of it and that it would do a bunch of stuff. But not really. The movie talks about how after the Second World War, the government started putting more money into researching space travel and created the Civil Interplanetary Flight Commission. Of course, building rockets was kind of trial and error. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they flew off and exploded. And see, this is why I never want to be the first at something. I mean, even just imagine being the person who had to find the first person to go into space. I mean, how do you sell that? There's just no way I could ever be that good at persuading someone. Like, oh yeah, of course a lot of the rockets we've tested have exploded, but we're gonna figure that out. And when we do, you will be totally safe. I mean, sure, we don't really know what's going to happen to you once you're actually in space, but just think of the bragging rights if you make it back. I mean, when you make it back, because you totally will. Anyways, Dr. Ralph Harrison is tired of the CIFC using people as human guinea pigs, and he quits.
There's my pass, staff card, and the badge. You can send my papers down to the hotel.
Later that day, Dr. Nordstrom shows up at his door, and he's like, hey, I heard how you quit. That was pretty badass. And I also agree with you.
I look forward to working on a job where I don't have to burn the contents of my wastebasket every night.
I don't know, that sounds pretty cool to me. I mean, imagine if you got to spend the last hour of your day at work burning things. If anything, that seems like it would be a perk. So Nordstrom is like, hey, I think I have a solution to this whole using humans as test subjects problem. Just let me take you to my house. They finally arrive at Nordstrom's house, and the dude basically lives in Jurassic Park. Nordstrom has some kind of a fancy security system with sonic beams, which identifies the car. Basically, it's a garage door opener with extra steps. At the house, Ralph meets Nordstrom's daughter and her son, whose nickname is Gadge, because he loves gadgets. So much so that he figured out the secret combination to get into Nordstrom's hidden laboratory. Okay, you gotta be careful having that kid around, because it seems like you're not gonna be able to hide anything. I mean, you're actually lucky that it was just your laboratory that he found and not some sort of a kink room. Maybe that's a bad example that not everybody can relate to. I'm just trying to say, aren't you entitled to a little bit of privacy in your own home? See, kids like this are why they invented the Rubik's Cube. Here, spend all your time trying to figure this out and stay out of my shit.
Come on, Ralph. As long as he has it open, I may as well show you what's down there.
I gotta say, I saw this all the time growing up in movies and TV shows, and so far, it has become yet another disappointment of adulthood. Realizing that there are not, in reality, a lot of houses out there with secret rooms hidden behind bookshelves. And quite frankly, it could only add to the property value. I think there's a lot of people out there who would love to have the ability to hide from their family for a few hours and have nobody know where they are. Apparently, this house has a bunch of different gadgets, like this clock that can tell you the time so that you don't have to look at it.
What's the time?
Time is now 21 and a half minutes past 8.
See, this is just brilliant. I mean, yeah, we have digital assistants now, like Siri, for example, but I guess Steve Jobs wasn't that much of a genius, because I don't remember Apple ever coming out with a grandfather clock that had the voice of a grandfather. I mean, how clever is that? So they tell Gadge that they're having a bunch of scientific journalists come to the lab for a presentation, and the kid is just dying to know what's going on down there. So he puts a microphone down the vent so that he can listen. I mean, Jesus Christ, you get more privacy in a prison than in this house. Anyways, the journalists start arriving, and Carl is at the gate, checking everybody's papers and writing down license plates. And it makes sense. I mean, look at how much money this guy puts into security. So they all go down into the lab, which apparently used to be a wine cellar. Can you imagine having this much space for wine? I can't imagine having this much space to just live. Once everybody has taken their seats, Nordstrom starts the presentation, and he's basically like, look, we don't know the actual conditions of space yet. I mean, who knows what the hell goes on up there? Which is why, instead of sending a human, we should send this awesome robot that I built. I named it Tobor, which is robot spelled backwards, because I'm clever like that. So Nordstrom demonstrates that Tobor is telepathic and can feel the emotions of people.
Now, if you will, walk around behind Tobor and hold the thought of enmity all the time. Deadly enmity.
And wow, look at that. You're probably wondering when that's going to come into play. Probably later in the story at a crucial moment, right? Yeah, no, it doesn't. I know. That's really what this movie is. A lot of great ideas that don't really get used. This movie is like a cereal where, the box looks awesome. It's great. But the actual cereal is totally bland. And there's no toy inside. And you know what? I don't even think they do that anymore. Putting toys in cereal boxes. Man, the future sucks. So Gadge is like, holy crap, I gotta get my hands on that robot. And really, I can't blame him, because I dreamt about that all the time when I was a kid. Having a giant robot that I could control. Looking back, a lot of the reasons for it were pretty evil, but I don't think that's that uncommon. I think most kids are pretty evil to a degree. I mean, you grow out of it, for the most part. So Gadge goes downstairs and starts messing around with Tobor, but he can't figure out how to control it. And now Tobor is on a rampage, knocking over tables, going upstairs, ruining harps, breaking stuff. Oh my god, how the hell are they gonna get this thing under control? Well, it actually just kind of goes back downstairs and back into its tube, so yeah, kind of another missed opportunity for something more exciting. Anyways, while they're cleaning up, Ralph notices that there seems to be more chairs on the floor than they initially set up. So he asks Nordstrom how many people he invited.
How many news services did you ask to send representatives tonight, Professor?
12, as you know. Why?
Because there are 13 empty chairs, and tonight every one of them was filled.
Uh-oh. You hear that? Suspicious music. And why are we hearing suspicious music? Because you didn't count the amount of people in the room before the presentation. What about that was so hard? I told you, I was like, hey, Nordstrom, why don't you get a head count? And you were like, nah, it's fine. It looks like a dozen. Well, it was more than a dozen. It was a baker's dozen. And who knows who that extra guy was? By the way, do you know why they call it a baker's dozen? 13? They call it that because apparently back in medieval times there were strict laws regarding the price of a loaf of bread or the weight of a loaf of bread or something. So bakers would throw in an extra loaf into a bag of a dozen to avoid the penalty. And what was that? Right? Again, it was the medieval times. They were beating bakers, let's face it. Yeah. And why? Why were we ever beating bakers? These are the people who are baking our breads and our muffins and our buttery croissants. It's a hard enough job as it is without the threat of being, flogged. Well, it looks like they're in big trouble now, but it's not like you can blame them. I mean, how could you possibly avoid something like this? Nordstrom spared no expense when it came to security. Electric fences, sonic beams, an armed guard writing down names and license plates. So what else was he supposed to do? Give the guard a list with the 12 people that were invited, and the guard could just check the names with the names on the list before you let them in. I mean, who could afford that? Really, the only other thing would be to, count everybody once they're in the lab? Let's be real here. 12 people, that would take what? 12 seconds? 12 seconds? 12. Who has that time to spare in this crazy, fast-paced life that we, live in society, whatever. So it looks like someone snuck in. This guy. And holy crap, a fake license plate. Well, he's basically untraceable now.
22 university degrees, and I forget to tell Carl the number of letters. No wonder they tell jokes about absent-minded professors.
Let's hope that those precautions of yours are rugged enough to keep them out.
Well, that at least I can guarantee.
No, you can't. Dude, you just let somebody sneak in with a forged invitation. That same guy could come back next week as the milkman, and you'd probably be like, doors open. I mean, all of these security measures, and all you really had to do was just set out 12 chairs, and that's it. Put the other ones away somewhere. Problem solved. Hey, who's that one guy who's standing? There you go. But who is this man? Well, he's a foreign spy looking to steal the robot or steal the plans to build the robot or something. Who cares? He wants his own robot for nefarious means, okay? So Ralph develops this wearable device to communicate telepathically with Tobor.
All right. I worked out a series of reaction tests. Here they are. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know what? I really think you could have done a better job crossing the last one out. I kind of get the feeling like you wanted me to be able to read it. I don't know why. I don't want to know why. I'm just going to pretend as if I didn't see that. And I think the best thing for both of us moving forward is just to go on and act as if the last 20 seconds never even happened. In fact, I insist we do that. Also, I'm going to go ahead and burn this now because I just can't take the risk of the kids seeing it. So Nordstrom is able to control Tobor with this transmitter that they hide inside of a pen, and he makes Tobor write on the typewriter. Oh, I see how it is. Get Tobor to do all the work that you don't want to do. Is that it? Don't want to learn typing? Oh, get the robot to do it. Well, you know what? If we keep treating our robot companions like this, we should be very worried. Soon enough, he's going to start typing all work and no play makes Tobor a dull boy over and over again, and then he's just going to lose it completely. And he knows where you keep the axe, so, well, who am I kidding? That would never happen in this movie. Although I wish it did. The Shining with a robot would be super cool. And this movie has some of those ingredients. They could have gone in a kick-ass direction like that, but no, they just had to make a family movie. See, like, families ruin everything. I mean, seriously, have you ever been to Disney World? It is amazing how obnoxious people can be. And then they go and multiply and create these little versions of themselves that are somehow even more obnoxious. Meanwhile, the foreign spy chief, honestly, that's the only name I could find for this character. The IMDb page has him as man with rimless glasses. Anyways, this guy is like, all right, we're gonna get into that house and take pictures of the robot, but we gotta do it when it's dark outside. That's right, he's obviously going for the silent, sneaky approach of using a truck and a crane to put a ladder over the fence. Of course, Nordstrom has a pretty advanced security system that sends out a bright light and plays the sounds of gunshots and warplanes flying overhead through a bunch of speakers. And the bad guys are like, ah, crap, we gotta get out of here. We don't want to be caught in the middle of a war.
I brought my 22.
I also love how the kid comes into the room with his gun. He's like, I brought my 22. Are we gonna see this kid start shooting people? So they all go after them, and one of the bad guys starts shooting back at them. Like, for the love of God, get the kid out of there. He shouldn't have been allowed to come with you in the first place. There's bullets literally flying over your heads. But nope, they're going to run towards the gunfire.
You shouldn't have pushed me, Ralph. I want have had him.
We almost got our brains blown out. The bad guys go back to their hideout, which is in some kind of a gas station or something, and they're like, all right, we're just gonna have to make Nordstrom come to us. So they kidnap Nordstrom and Gage when they go to the Griffith Park Planetarium, which seems to be the place where shit goes down if you've been watching this show lately. Nordstrom manages to convince them that he's going deaf and that they should put on his hearing aid, which is actually the device that can communicate with Tobor. Then he starts using the pen transmitter, which can control Tobor. And honestly, it's about time something cool happened with the robot in this movie. There's only 10 minutes left, and so far, you know, the thing has, made a mess here and there. Tobor breaks through the secret lab bookshelf because he obviously has no respect for the time and craftsmanship that went into building that. And then instead of going through the front door, he just walks through the window. So this thing is able to climb stairs, pick up on human emotions, pilot a spacecraft, communicate telepathically, yet you couldn't get it to learn how to turn a doorknob. I mean, this robot is costing you a ton of money. And I don't even know how you're gonna explain this to the homeowner's insurance. I mean, that damage can't be covered. So here comes Tobor breaking through the gate. This guy tries to shoot him, but really sucks at it. Again, the robot can drive a car, but using the front door, that's just too much. I mean, it's a robot, not a god. So Tobor starts leading everybody to where the bad guys are keeping Nordstrom and Gage. And the bad guys are like, come on, old man, give us the robot formula or whatever. Otherwise, we're going to rip the kid's shirt and burn his back with a torch. Which is kind of funny because even though they clearly tear his shirt open, it's magically back in one piece a few minutes later. Anyways, the bad guys destroy the transmitter and the kid basically starts using The Shining. Again, look, I understand. Family-friendly movie, but just how cool would it be? Imagine The Shining with the robot. You know, he's running through the hotel with an axe, chasing people down, the kids controlling it. Like, I would see that movie. Would you see that movie? Anyways, Tobor breaks in, and wow, this guy really sucks at throwing. None of these guys stand a chance in the slightest. The man with the rimless glasses tries to drive away, but Tobor stops him, so instead of just putting the car in reverse, he starts shooting. Somehow the car is now in front of the house, which makes no sense, but whatever. The guy doesn't even try to make an escape, so that's the end of him. And Tobor goes on to pilot a rocket ship into space. Great. So there you go. A movie that had some cool ideas, but could have been a lot more interesting. That whole thing with Tobor being able to sense people's emotions and when they had bad intentions never really came into play. Now, apparently, the original robot and remote control have survived all these years and are currently part of someone's private collection. I have no other details than that. Is it a horrible movie? No, but it's not very good. Maybe at the time, it was viewed differently because it was, I guess, technically a kid's movie, but I don't know. These movies do teach us a very valuable lesson, however, that creating a robot ends up being a giant pain in the ass. But that's pretty much it for this one. As usual, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time. And then they go and multiply and create these little versions of themselves that are somehow even more obnoxious. See, that's why I can't have kids. I can't risk putting another version of me out into this world. Just f***ing shit up.
Someone black, oh, someone black, oh,